Almost 36 years ago, a young man named Terry Fox set out on a journey across Canada. He called it his Marathon of Hope, and on today's show, we'll learn all about his epic cross-country run, while more importantly, learning about the cause behind it. It's all coming up on today's Go on Shaw TV, which begins right now. On April 12, 1980, Terry Fox began his Marathon of Hope, running from Newfoundland to Ontario with the goal of raising awareness and money for cancer research. Running across Canada in itself is a huge undertaking and something to be admired, but for Terry Fox, he took on this task with a prosthetic leg. We're here at the Diefenbaker Canada Centre for their Terry Fox exhibit called Running to the Heart of Canada. There's lots to explore and learn more about his journey and his legacy, so let's take a look at what else is coming up. After the break, we find out what Persephone series is going out with a bang.
It's time to prep for the impuzzlement.
And we learn why Canadian icon Terry Fox was inspired to run across Canada.
Creating local TV that matters to your community. Shaw TV, your local voice.
The Diefenbaker Center's Terry Fox exhibit is fascinating. Since being here, I've already learned so many facts I had no idea about, including the fact that the Terry Fox Run, a run in which many schools take part in across the world every September, signifies the end of Terry Fox's run across Canada. Before Athanasia here at the center educates us more on this Canadian icon, let's take a look at what else is coming to an end in our community. Persephone Theatre is preparing for its final show ever of its Deep End series, and as Simon Hyatt tells us, they're wrapping up the series with a bang.
It's time to prep for the impuzzlement.
Bang may be one of the most experimental plays to ever take to the backstage stage at Persephone, and not just when it comes to the actions of the characters.
It began a few years ago when I approached the actors who are in the show and said, I have this idea for a play, would you like to be in it? And so they said yes, and so then I started writing it. So it's a bit of a reverse process.
Bang has been a labor of love for writer and director Daniel MacDonald. He says he felt he owed it to the actors who made that commitment 4 years ago to see it through to fruition.
You know, you carry on with other things and life goes on and you never know what's going to happen. Then you get a phone call or an email and then we're on again, we're doing another reading, and so it's this sort of skipping stones. There's a lot of time in the air and then you're hitting the water again, and then finally it's all come together.
The one newcomer to the Bang ensemble is Joshua Stoddard from Toronto, who signed on to the show in December.
It's a super fun experience. Everybody is really friendly and positive, and everybody's trying to make it work and solving big problems, and that's a fun adventure. And then just being in Saskatoon too, haven't been here before. It's a really nice city.
MacDonald once believed when the show finally hit the stage, it would be in a smaller venue. But Persephone artistic director Del Surgic thought it would be perfect for the backstage stage in the Ramey Art Center, where MacDonald also serves as artistic associate. The space also allows for some experimental staging that puts the audience in the center of the action.
If you imagine an operating theater where a doctor is operating and people are watching the operation, the doctor's talking to them about it, that's a bit like what this is going to be like, where Dr. Professor Bang is addressing the audience and kind of keeping them involved in what's going on. So that seating helps with that.
It feels a bit like the Roman Forum. It's you know, it's a bit of it's got a pit sort of construction, and so one feels very much the center of the activity and you know, life and death.
The story focuses on Dr. Professor Bang and his son Trevor, who run a mobile clinic for people experiencing anguish due to a loss they have suffered.
The problem is his methods are quite unorthodox, and so his clinic is on the run. So he's always trying to find a new venue, a new location to have his clinic and stay one step away from the authorities who are pursuing him, which becomes a major factor in the play eventually.
Those involved say the experimental nature of the play also makes it the perfect one to wrap up Persephone's Deep End series, which is being discontinued. It's especially appropriate for Alan, who also starred in the first show in the alternative theater series.
It's a bit of oddness. It's sort of about an experimental and very hopeful process of recovery. Success or not, we don't know.
Bang plays at the Backstage stage through April 17th. For Go on Shaw TV, I'm Simon Hyatt.
On April 12, 1980, at the young age of 21 years old, Terry Fox started his journey known as the Marathon of Hope, running from Newfoundland to Ontario. Joining me right now is Athanasia. She's here with the Diefenbaker Canada Centre. She's here to explain a little bit more about Terry Fox's journey and a little bit about his life. Athanasia, thanks so much for joining us right now. I'm very interested in this topic. Of course, Terry Fox is an icon to many people, like we were mentioning off camera, across the world are really recognizing Terry Fox and his cause and his legend, I guess you would say. Let's start from the beginning, though. What was Terry Fox's life before he began his Marathon of Hope?
Prior to the marathon, Terry had been known to be quite a fan of sports, and at a young age he'd already demonstrated being quite determined, especially in sports. I believe it was basketball before he made it to high school. He had watched the older kids play, and he didn't make the team the first try, but he kept trying and practiced, and eventually got on the basketball team and excelled. And unfortunately, by the age of 18, he was diagnosed with osteogenic sarcoma, which is a bone cancer, which is actually commonly found in teenagers. So when the doctors had discovered the tumor in his right knee, they decided that the only way was to amputate in order to save his life. So at the young age of 18, Terry Fox lost his leg. Although it was in that during that time in the hospital is when he became inspired to do the Marathon of Hope. Being 18, he was in the children's ward. So firsthand, he saw a lot of young kids and families suffering from cancer. And so he just felt inspired that he had to do something. He felt compelled that there's got to be something, there's got to be a way to cure this. And then an old coach of his had brought him a magazine that had an article about a gentleman who had lost his leg and did a marathon in New York. So he was inspired by that, and that was kind of the birth of the idea that he was going to run across Canada.
Amazing. So it did start in Newfoundland. It took a little while, though, from what I have read, for him to really get publicity or well known that he's actually running across Canada for this cause. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it started to build more momentum once he hit Ontario, and word started to get out. Plus, the Canadian Cancer Society started to back him. Ford backed him. That's where he was able to get the van. So Ford had sponsored, and eventually word had just spread as to what this gentleman was doing and what he was going to be about.
What's something that you found really interesting that you may have not known before the exhibit came here?
I think it was definitely finding out that the Terry Fox Run happens not just in Canada, but in countries across the world.
I remember taking part in these runs every September through my school. What significance does September have?
The significance that September has is it was September that Terry had found out that he had got the second wave of cancer, that he had got lung cancer, and that's when Canadians had started to continue the run for him. So that's also why I believe schools partake in September, and Canadians join together in order to commemorate his run.
Fantastic. We're just getting started here with Athanasia. There is so much to learn at the Terry Fox exhibit here at the Diefenbaker Canada Centre, so make sure you stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break. Still to come on Go, we take a look at a replica of Terry Fox's prosthetic leg. And we get a sneak peek of a new single from Saskatoon's League of Wolves as they get ready to release their newest album. We're at the Diefenbaker Canada Centre learning more about a Canadian legend. Being diagnosed with cancer at only 18 years old, Terry Fox exemplified courage and determination. Both these qualities are present in a group of U of S students every year. During March, University of Saskatchewan students take part in the 5 Days of Homelessness campaign. All the money raised here in Saskatoon goes towards a nonprofit organization called EGADS. Many schools across Canada take part in this campaign every year, but it actually originated at the University of Alberta. So let's take a quick trip over to Edmonton to learn more about its cause.
Struggling students are giving what they can in hopes for change.
We've been living outside the University of Alberta School of Business building to raise money and awareness for the youth empowerment and support services here in Edmonton.
8 students teamed up for the 12th annual 5 Days for the Homeless campaign.
It was actually founded at the U of A in 2005, and since then 27 schools have kind of hopped on the bandwagon and are now doing it. So it happens all across Canada. It's usually all the same week as well, so there's a lot of students that are living outside this week.
Sleeping on nothing but cardboard, our chilly evenings can reach temperatures of -15. Some may wonder, why participate?
I think that I realize that we've come from a lot of privilege, or at least like a lot of us have come from a lot of privilege, and it's important to realize that other people who don't, they need people advocating for them as well. While we can't relate at all, I think a lot of voices are silenced, especially when it comes to issues like homelessness, and it's important for them to know that they have those who have been privileged who are on their side.
For these 5 days, students give up every luxury they're used to.
So we're not allowed our cell phones or any technology except for social media purposes. No coming inside between the hours of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. So we're outside that whole time. The only food that we get to eat is by direct donation, and any non-perishable food items that we receive, we donate as well. So if someone gives me a sandwich, I can eat it, but if someone gives me a can of soup, we donate it.
These rules give participants partial insight into just how hard street life is.
I think something important is just to think twice before you judge someone that's on the street. They're not there because they want to be there. That's probably the last place they want to be. Half these people are there because of unfortunate circumstances or mental illness, and not for the reasons that society says they're there for.
With a goal of $45,000, they are looking for any donations possible. Together, we can abolish homelessness in Edmonton for good. For Go, I'm Jordan Hertner.
Terry Fox is an icon for both young and old. Joining us again is Athanasia here at the Diefenbaker Canada Centre. We are checking out their newest Terry Fox exhibit. It's called Running to the Heart of Canada. A beautiful name and definitely one that describes Terry Fox's journey. Now, Athanasia, I want to talk about this exhibit a little bit because there's not only facts that you can learn about, you have everything laid out here, but there's also artifacts and interactive things that people can do when they come down and check out the exhibit, which I think is unique. Let's talk quickly about this. This was all donated by a local woman, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So everything that's contained in this display case goes to commemorate the memory of Terry Fox. Over here, this was kind of the staff favorites. We have 2 letters here written by children. One, it says, "I love you, Terry, smile," and it's written 3,339 times to commemorate the miles that he had run, but unfortunately at that point he had to end his run because that's when he found out he had cancer. And then this letter over here goes to show, again, young kids feeling connected to Terry. It's a young girl who is donating $5 and also some of her brother's tooth fairy money to the Terry Fox Foundation. Here we can see a replica of the shoes that Terry had run his marathon in.
And for one person to have all this memorabilia really shows the impact that Terry Fox had on Canadians.
That's correct, yes.
Both young and old, we mentioned right off the top. This is a replica of his artificial leg.
Yes,
and I
is.
hear something that's quite popular with the kids when they come in here.
Yes, it is. There is quite a fascination. And I'm really glad that kids are happy to ask about it because it is quite a symbol. The technology on prosthetics has certainly advanced. From what I know, with this replica, it kind of shows the structure that Terry would have run with. The foot is made out of wood and rubber, and from what I understand, our feet are shock absorption. So from some of the things that I've read, people do believe that if he had had the prosthetics of today, it's perhaps he could have ran even further than he did and faster. You can imagine that material in here would weigh quite heavy. So to run an entire marathon, really it shows his drive and determination.
He actually ran about the equivalent of a marathon per day.
Yes.
So I can only imagine how this would take a toll. He's so determined, he was so courageous, and he just was so driven for this one cause that has affected his life.
Yeah, there's one quote that had kind of stuck out to me. He said that he wasn't doing it for himself, but cancer can strike anyone at any time. So this is for anyone who will ever have to face that, and the family members too who are grieving along with the person who's affected by cancer. So I mean, he really had a wide view about this. So something else that kind of is testimony to his character. And it's quite moving when you see these artifacts, especially those letters. Those are my favorite.
Those are a highlight of this exhibit for sure. Well, you'll definitely have to come check it out yourself. It's on here till June 19th, so plenty of chances for people to come see this exhibit. How much of a privilege is it to have it here at the Diefenbaker Center?
Oh, it's huge. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, again, to be able to see it myself, it surprised me. So excellent.
All right, we're going to talk more details later on in the show, so keep watching today's Go on Shaw TV.
Creating local TV that matters to your community. Shaw TV, your local voice.
The Diefenbaker Center always has such great exhibits for community members to enjoy. Their latest is one focused on Terry Fox's story and his journey across Canada. But before we learn more on the details of this exhibit, let's throw it over to our next story.
You break my body, lock me up in...
It's a rite of passage for bands on the rise. A memorable reaction to hearing your song on the radio. For Aspen Beverage, it was a decidedly modern response compared to those who have come before League of Wolves.
I couldn't resist the urge to Snapchat a couple times, yeah. The song comes on the radio, it feels pretty good.
I've actually never heard it on the radio yet.
Yeah, he's never heard it.
It's been on for like 4 weeks
I think
or
I've heard it like 8 times while I was driving, but he still hasn't heard it.
It's on every day and I always miss it, so doing something wrong.
Stork's inability to catch their single, Hightail, on the airwaves is about the only misstep the band has made of late. The song, which is charting across the country, is also in contention in the CBC Searchlight competition, and they recently returned from becoming the first Saskatoon band to win the Queen City Rocks contest in Regina.
It was a different experience. It was really our first time competing against another band. You don't really do that much in music. And so that was different, but it was a very friendly atmosphere. It was sort of like a celebration of many genres of music, which was nice to see.
League of Wolves has also released a video for Hightail shot in a Saskatoon warehouse over the course of 2 long days.
A patient in a mental hospital in like the 1950s era, but he's just like perma-fried on acid. So he just like, he just sees things and we are the things he sees.
Turned out really cool. It's kind of a classic rock sounding song, and so it was nice to have that retro vibe for the video.
And the Wolfpack has expanded by 1K9, as they've been joined on this song and their new EP, Like It Should Be, by former Sheepdog Liat Hansen. The partnership between Hansen, who was unavailable for this performance and interview, grew out of a long-time friendship and jam sessions.
He seemed pretty interested, and then it kind of grew from there, and naturally we started writing songs together. And from there, he came down to the studio in Piafot, and we started doing some demos and decided, maybe we could put something together.
The band will officially release the EP Friday night at Amigos and plan to tour extensively this summer and fall. Despite already being road warriors and having spent countless hours together in a van, they say they still get along, for the most part.
I don't think we're killing each other yet. We have no one's died. So.
I think we're past that phase. Right
now. We're past the killing each other, and we're into like the blackmailing and slowly poisoning each other. It's almost like a holiday where we get to hang out and just go camping basically for 3 weeks and play shows, which we love doing.
For Go on Shaw TV, I'm Simon Hyatt.
We are making our way through Diefenbaker Canada Centre's Terry Fox exhibit. It's called Running to the Heart of Canada. Joining me again is Athanasia. Thank you so much for teaching us a little bit about Terry Fox. I've mentioned it several times. There's so much information here, and it's great to learn about the history, because as we were chit-chatting off camera, you mentioned you had a couple really young students come in and they register that they do the run every September, but not so much why they do it or that they're a part of something bigger.
Yeah, it was actually maybe even a moment for myself to really engage with that thought that we learn about the Terry Fox run, we participate in the run, but we never think that we're exactly a part of the legacy, which is something I feel that Terry would be proud of to know. So.
Yeah, talking about taking people really into the history. This, I think, describes exactly how people can understand a day in the life of Terry on his run across Canada. They have here on the road routine, so it's pretty much his daily routine broken down. He wakes up he did wake up at 4 a.m. He then ran 12 miles. He eats breakfast, takes a long, well-deserved nap, runs another 10 or 12 miles, my goodness, eats, of course, to refuel, runs a few more miles to bring the total to 26 miles for the day. Holy macaroni. He then takes time to meet with the public, write postcards, talk with the press, and really get the word out about why he's doing this Marathon of Hope. And of course, then he caps off the days with eating dinner. What do you love about these photos?
What I really enjoy about them is that I do feel like it perfectly captures his day, but the essence of who he was. People felt like he was just one of them, a brother, a friend, a son, a cousin, that they would invite him into their home to have supper, or again, cars following, and again, these pictures, looking at them would be as if you were going through your own family photo album.
Now, this is a bit of a traveling exhibition, I guess you would say. It was created by?
The Canadian Museum of History, as well as the Terry Fox Foundation and Terry Fox's family. So this is a combined effort to remind everyone of who Terry Fox was.
Perfect. Now, details that people need to know if they want to stop by the center to check this out.
Yes, Monday to Thursday, we're open 9:30 to 8 p.m., Friday 9:30 to 4:30 p.m., and on weekends, noon to 4:30. We're free, and
good.
Parking is free on Sundays, so definitely come on by.
It's a good day to come by.
Exactly, yes. Yes, for sure.
Fantastic, and we did mention it is on all the way till June 19th, so lots of chances to come down and learn a little bit more about Terry Fox, especially with the upcoming anniversary on April 12th. Athanasia, I want to thank you. You're so knowledgeable. I really enjoyed learning a little bit more about Terry Fox and putting meaning to his journey, his Marathon of Hope. So a big thank you to you for joining us on today's show. I hope you come and check it out, but most of all, stay tuned because we'll be right back after the break. Although Terry Fox set out on his Marathon of Hope almost 36 years ago, his legacy and message still lives on in the hearts of many people across the world, both young and old. There is so much to see and learn here at the Diefenbaker's Terry Fox exhibit titled Running to the Heart of Canada. Remember, April 12th is the anniversary of the start of Terry Fox's Marathon of Hope, but the exhibit is open until June. For more information, make sure you go to usask.ca/Diefenbaker. Until next time, I'm your host, Janella Hamilton. Thanks for watching.